I've got the recap here. Let me find where we left off. We picked up Caius. Well, eventually. Yeah. I made note first that Caius made a traveling wrestling troupe, and they're taking the 3 months of winter off to do as they wish, and they're going to return to Lucerne at the end of winter. But first, the rest of us all had dreams. Common themes of ice and cold and warnings. Xenia came out of theirs wanting to kill Aquarius. Discussed that. Went down. Sorrel is all wintry now as an Eladrin. Rosalind took a moment to talk to Ashta about consecrating the cave because I talked to Conrad about funerary practices or similar things prior to the session. So we got that started in the beginning of our day, and it'll be done within the month and we'll get word. We went and found Caius, and we got Ashta his giant slaying bolt, so I hope he's very happy. We got some winter fuel to take care of campfires while we're out there. And we went to get warm clothes and made another shopkeeper extremely happy, as each of us bought boots of the Winterlands, which were expensive. And then we just kind of went on a spree for other little things like gloves and scarves and magical bandanas, sunglasses, whatever else. Rosalind went back to the weapon shop and got 10 little palm-sized daggers that some people were a little bit nervous and uncertain about. She's got plans.
Fair. For good reason.
Party doesn't have to worry. Orozur went to talk to him at the end. He gave us a little bit of his sleeve to give to the diviner in Daren-k'or as proof of meeting him and him sending us. Note that the diviner is apparently very pro-Druid government and is a big reason why they've stayed in power, so that'll be that might be something to think about. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to cause us problems or not. We took about 4 days to travel down south. First day through the bogs, kind of mundane. The second day was more and more magical creatures, and we got followed by some crystal-eared bunny rabbits, and one was very pregnant. They really liked Xenia because Xenia smelled like those who were friendly, presumably other druids or elves or something, I don't know. Overnight, we got all woken up by a screaming rabbit giving birth to 6 little babies. They were all gone in the morning. There's a new hole in the ground nearby, so they probably are in there. We didn't poke around after them. Traveled for another day, got into the Glisten Tors, all the hills, saw the distant edge of the patchwork forest. Kind of an interesting terrain with different colored grasses, shrubs, like autumn on the ground. We met a small group of dwarves over a hill who asked to share our fire. Apparently prospectors, unarmed, pickaxes, one had a barrel. Ashta was a little bit twitchy about all that because strangers. But everything seemed okay. They seemed friendly and non-threatening, and we woke up in the morning none the worse for anything. The spokesperson, leader of these prospectors, was a dwarf named Grundle. Apparently they were looking for diamonds. Note further that Ashta has started training against charm effects, hoping to gain a resistance to them. This involves putting him under said charms, with occasionally hilarious results. Or embarrassing, depending on which side of it you're on. And we traveled the rest of the way with the dwarves to Daren-k'or the next day. And we have just arrived at the city.
Alright. Have you begun recording?
Yeah, I began recording right before the recap, so this is all saved.
Okay, making sure. Alright, so I believe last time I said you guys arrived just before noon. As you approach the walls to the city, they're sturdy and vaguely gem-encrusted, with seemingly small, either quartz-like crystals or something similar. Every 15 feet or so on the top of the walls, these parapets with someone sitting inside of it, it seems like. A little murder hole to watch. But the stream of people entering the city is pretty quick moving. It doesn't seem they're doing much of a check for those entering. Um, the entrance you seem to be coming in, there's about 4 lines. You guys can walk up to one of them, probably presumably the shortest. And as you pass the guards, they each ask you guys, anything to declare? Imports, exports, anything you intend to sell? Yes. Yeah, it starts with probably Rosalind, who's in front.
We're not really here for business. No.
Visitors, workers.
Visitors, we're hoping to call on an individual in town, but as far as I know, we aren't looking to sell anything.
Alright. Well, if you need directions, look for one of the Halfling Houses. They're pretty obvious.
Thank you.
He waves you inside. It is to note that this man seems to be a dwarf in a pretty heavy chainmail armor. Goes for the next one. Once the dwarves that came with you guys come to enter, though, you can get basically separated into a separate line where there seems to be a bunch of similar-looking dwarves haggling or arguing about something in Dwarvish. I'm not sure if anyone speaks Dwarvish.
Rosalind.
Okay. Then you can hear pretty clearly that they're essentially talking about claims over one of the Diamond Hills, and one's talking about claims over the Ruby Hills. And the 2 hills are very next to each other, so there's an argument about where the mining operations get funded from. And trying not to encroach on each other's territory. But as you guys get in, they kind of wave as you separate from them into the city. And as soon as you guys have a moment to kind of collect yourselves and get away from the large crowd that surrounds the entrance, you go to kind of keep walking forward until you notice that the entirety of the city seems to be on about a 10-degree decline, and it seems to be getting steeper just slowly the further you walk. And once you're free from the rest of the city, it seems like this entire city is shaped like a funnel going downwards, and it goes down far. You can see buildings like basically made on these like almost unreasonable angles with supports that come out of the ground and hold the side of the house to the bottom, and it's quite the look. But you can see very clearly marked in about 8 different languages, pretty near the entrance, a thing that says the Halfling House. And there is indeed about 20 or so halflings, all looking relatively friendly, chatting with those who come up, or sitting down and reading books while they wait. But you guys have entered Daren-k'or. You are free to do as you wish.
Well, I don't suspect we're looking forward to be easy to find or easy to get to, but I suppose asking is the first step.
Yep. Okay, Rosalind will go towards the Halfling House, approach one that, if any look up at her when she's approaching, then she'll go to them, but...
You actually see one as you go down to, they kind of wave you forward and pull up what seems to be kind of the, look at those car things to block the sun out.
Mm-hmm.
Think of that, but facing outward so that they can look up at you without anything in the way.
Okay.
And they kind of go, new visitors, huh? Nice to meet you. How you doing? What are you looking for?
We
And you can see she's got a big smile on her face as she greets you.
We're doing quite well, thank you. We were sent to speak with the diviner.
Any diviner in particular? It's quite the trade here.
Yes, definitely one in particular. Esther, did you get a name? As I flip through my notes.
Yep. Esther would not have gotten a name. As her name is not public knowledge.
Okay. Well, we were told that she was a glimmer, if that narrows it down somewhat.
A glimmer. And you see her kind of like sit back in a little seat she's standing on. Well, we've got a kind of a divination school. I've never met the dean there, but it's possible she's there. Or potentially one of the government longhouses. Although you have to look for one of the druidic government houses, not the dwarven ones. Although maybe in the gem guild? I'm not sure. But those might be your three safest bets.
All right. Would you have directions to these buildings, or are they fairly obvious?
Well, to get to the college for the diviners, it might take a bit of moving. The closest one you'll get to is probably the Gems Guild. A lot of diviners get work there, as it's quite the benefit to have direction when you go looking for a certain kind of gem. So Nick kind of points down, basically down the street and down into the funnel just a little bit, and you can see a very fancily outer structure to a low-set stone and once more gem-encrusted thing that has text in just bright dwarvish and then underneath in common that just says guild made entirely of gems. But past that, take a bit further to get to everywhere else. If you don't find her there, feel free to come back. I can show you the directions there, or find one of the other houses. There's a bunch around to help all the visitors.
Well, it's a place to start. Thank you.
Anytime, and she once more gives a huge smile and waves as you walk away.
All right. We approach the very gaudy gem guild, I guess.
Just along the way, Ash might also just bring up that if I had to guess, I would imagine the guild would be the place, if not to find who we're looking for, to find someone who would know the whereabouts.
That is my thought. Any of those places would perhaps do that trick.
I feel the school might be more likely, though.
But if the school is further into the city, and the Gem Guild is right here, we might as well.
Alright. So as you head to the front entrance, a pair of seemingly dwarves are standing there with rather hefty-looking balls. One of them's got this massive ginger beard, easily tucked into his waist. The other is a bit taller and more lightly armored with a bow in his back. And they kind of nod as you approach the door and start endorsing. What's your business here?
We are actually searching for a particular diviner. Unfortunately, we were never given a name, and the Halfling House attendant said to ask about here first.
You don't know the name, huh?
No, we know that she is a glimmer, and a friend of Orizur.
Don't know who this Orizur fellow is, but if they're a glimmer, your best bet would be talking to someone higher up. Alright, if two of you want to come in, you can. I'd rather not have a full crew of heavily armored folks come in that we don't know, if that's alright.
That is understandable.
I can try to bring the boss, or bring you to him. And they kind of wait for you to select someone to come in with you.
I know that Sky isn't here, but character-wise, Esther seems an obvious choice.
Okay.
For obvious reasons.
Then yeah, it's easy enough to say that Esther comes along.
And I know Ashta's gonna have a conniption if Rosalind goes, but she's gonna offer.
Concerns.
She'll say, I'll be fine. I'm taking Esther with me.
Sure.
Sorry, did he say sure?
He said, "Are you sure?" Hello?
Yep. Okay, I heard you now. It was just turned down a bit. I am fairly certain. I have confidence in her.
Perhaps leave Thorn with us then.
If you insist.
Alright, Thorn kind of hops off your shoulder and immediately flies over to Kai's head and sits on the half of the head that doesn't have hair.
Of course.
and it's surprisingly warm actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah, it's still, you got some chilly winds still coming in from the north, so this is almost a nice windshield.
Yeah.
As you two enter, they kind of nod, and the dwarf who spoke to you before, the one with the beard, says, "I appreciate you picking the two least armed. Well, I can't promise it'll be immediate, but shouldn't be too long." And they kind of make their way into the building, and you do have to crouch to walk through this building just a bit. The ceilings are maybe like 5.5 feet tall, so at the very least you have to slouch.
Yeah, that's Rosalind's height right there.
Brain the neck slightly.
Yeah. She can just, like you said, just bend the neck slightly and don't jump upwards or jolt, and she'll be fine.
And yeah, you make your way through. You get brought up to the 3rd floor, and there's a sign on the door very clearly saying occupied. And the two dwarves kind of nod and say, "Yeah, seems like they're in a meeting right now. Just to give it a moment or two." And they give a quick knock to the door, and there's an acknowledgement from inside, but still 2 or 3 minutes pass before any other response comes. And when it does, you see the doors swing in, and standing directly in front of you, Rosalind, is a huge dwarf horizontally. He's got quite the gut to him, and you don't know where his face begins because it's like 90% hair. And standing next to him, in dazzling armor, is Hal'qarim. And he looks at you, and a huge smile cracks across his face.
Well, this is a surprise.
Indeed it is, although I'd call it fortune.
Yes, well, I'm sure you remember Esther?
And he kind of nods to Esther, and Esther gives a nod back with a slight tinge to her cheeks.
I apologize, but, we were actually looking for somebody else, so if you don't mind, we do need to ask after that, but...
No worries. But I ask, what are you, doing in the city of Daren?
Well, trying to find somebody.
Oh, I mean, I know quite a few of the people here. I might be able to help.
Specifically a diviner. And a glimmer.
Ah, the glimmer. And you see the smile on his face. It looks a little bit less comfortable. And he goes, "You'll be happy to know she's known to my family. Quite well, actually. But I won't bother you here. I'll wait outside for as soon as you're ready. I can guide you once you need me to." And he kind of gives you a slight bow, which is easy to do considering he's already almost stooped in half.
Mm-hmm.
A nod towards Esther and starts making his way out.
Your help is very appreciated, thank you.
He kind of gives you another jovial wave and makes his way out. And the hairball of a dwarf kind of nods at you and gestures for you to enter the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rosalind will go in.
Alright. And once you do, Esther also sits down next to you, and once sitting down, it's much more comfortable. You can stretch out your neck and kind of get used to the height. And he kind of sits across from the table, crosses his arms, just grunts, gestures for you to speak.
I'm sure you heard much of what we spoke of. We are here specifically searching for the Glimmer, who is the diviner. We were sent to speak with her by a friend of hers.
And you see him kind of nod and pull out a small map, place it on the table. Seems to be a map of the city. There's one that's from a top view, like a bird's eye view, and one that's almost like an architectural view from the side. And he circles about midway down the city, in the horizontal and the vertical view, and kind of just grunts and says, somewhere here. You can find them usually. Any further down, it's dwarven, halfling, and gnome only territory.
Well, thank you for your time.
He kind of just nods. Doesn't stand up, but you see the doors open up.
Yep, and she goes ahead and Rosalind leaves with Esther because that's the information we need, right?
Some of it, yeah. And you see, in the time it took you to have that brief conversation, there's already another person waiting outside the door, and there's a similar grunt to for them to enter. As you go to make your way out, you see Hal'qarim waiting on the inside of the doorway out, and once more he sees you, the big smile comes up. He says, "Oh, that was quicker than I. Will you let me guide your way, Lady Rosalind?"
Well, we do have a place to search, but if you can narrow it down, then I will accept your aid.
I
The
think I'll.
rest of
be
my
able
party
to.
is just outside.
Ah, does that include the less how do I put this refined of your party?
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
Just the ones who aren't quite used to the proprieties and politeness of high society. I don't mean it as an insult. I just mean the diviner, as you call her. She's quite uptight, let's say.
I'm sure they'll rise to the occasion in need.
Oh, I don't mean to say they shouldn't come. Just as a appropriate warning. And he pushes open the door and straightens up and immediately locks eyes with Xenia, and then with Ashta, and then gives like a weird kind of look to Caius with a dragon on one side of his head.
Rosalind's kind of behind him,
you
giving
looking?
Xenia and Ashta in particular kind of this helpless, vague shrug gesture look.
Sorry, did Caius go, "What are you looking at?"
Yeah. Caius, what are you looking at?
And you see him kind of like just straighten up and stretch his neck out. And he goes, "Oh, nothing. I was wondering where the little dragon went." And he kind of puts his hand out for Thorn to possibly smell. I'm not quite sure what he's trying to do.
Well, you usually narrate Thorn's actions, so what does Thorn do?
If Thorn's left to his own device, he just kind of sits there and looks at the hand. Doesn't really move toward it.
Rosalind will telepathically call Thorn back over to her shoulder.
And he kind of like flutters like just an inch over Hal'qarim's head, so he ducks and settles back over on your neck. You see Hal'qarim kind of go to shake Ashta's hand, saying, "Oh, nice to see you again."
Have Asher roll a wisdom roll.
Just go for it.
If anyone's looking, there's like a tendon in his neck that like pulses for a second. I suppose. Yes, nice to see you as well. And he puts his hand out, and he's very stiff, but.
Yep. And you get a solid shake, and he goes, "How's that fancy weapon you found treating you, with the one in the dragon's lair?"
Quite well, thank you.
Good, good, nice to hear. If you ever need it tuned up or repaired, you can always come by. One of my family's business, we do magic and repair as per request.
Alright.
Yes, and he kind of lets go of your hand and goes to shake Xenia's hand as well. Xenia, I forget, what sex are you today?
I think it's neutral.
Okay. Then yeah, he goes to kind of shake your hand, and you see him kind of like almost go to raise your hand to kiss the back of it, and just kind of stop himself, and he just sticks to the handshake.
Yeah, the muscles tense when like the motion starts. He's like, up.
And he kind of shakes the hand and says, Xenia looking, what's the word? Ageless as ever.
And you're looking as you as ever.
Ah, but isn't it such a fine thing to be yourselves, no?
It does not answer that.
And then he goes to Caius, and as opposed to the other two, when they the shake was more very formal, just stick out. He kind of goes through like the shake where his arm almost swings towards Caius's, assuming that Caius will meet up with him in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Does Caius like enthusiastically grasp his hand as well, or
He's just sort of like, uh-huh.
doesn't even offer the hand?
Sure, just brings it up and, yeah, okay, firm shake, whatever, cool.
As soon as the hands clasp, he kind of like pats your shoulder and goes, "I saw one of your shows while you were still performing an anthem, by the way. Brilliant, riveting, almost as well as exciting.
Thank you.
As I was vague interested as a kid as being a wrestler, but as you can see, I chose a more. I don't want to say
Watch
no.
your words there.
Dedicated, perhaps.
But
Dedicated purpose. Thank you.
Asha is going to, just if Hal'qarim's not looking at the time, kind of tap the side of his head to Rosalind in the Thorn telepathy.
Yeah, Rosalind will have Thorn open up telepathy with an... We ran into him inside. I should have warned you, I'm sorry. I did not expect this.
I'm going to assume he has some way of helping us.
Yes, he says he can guide us to the Glimmer.
Then I didn't make a complete ass of myself just now.
No, thank you.
As the conversation kind of goes on, he lets go of your hand, Kai, so keeps the hand on the shoulder and kind of squeezes it as he starts walking. He says, this way towards the meeting, the Glimmer, and he kind of begins a kind of jaunty walk and starts narrating the various kind of houses nearby and the things you can buy there, the different relations to his family, the trades they've had in the past, the arguments they might have had. None of it's particularly interesting.
Yeah, as we go, Xenia also gets the Thorn telepathy, like, apology for not warning. And also quick telepathy through Thorn to Caius, to let him know that we'd met this guy in Anther a while back. And Rosalind forgot that he lived here.
Yeah, Caius, you've never met this guy. You have no idea who he is.
no, he's just like, huh. You seem like an asshole. Just sort of like, yeah, you're kind of an asshole. Okay. And just sort of just like keeps his distance from him.
He the entire time he's walking, he unless you specifically move away, he keeps his one hand on your shoulder.
But Caius, he's a fan.
Yeah. Great that he likes the show. Uh-huh.
And once they get kind of the deeper of the inclines, you actually see that there are stairs at an angle that you feel like you're leaning back and you're on the wrong part of the stair, but it's the only way to keep your proper grip as you kind of walk.
If there's any sort of like lull in his like
Oh,
PowerPoint presentation of the
he
area.
doesn't stop speaking the entire way there.
Okay, then Ash will just butt in for a second. How are you acquainted with the Glimmer, let's say?
And you see the kind of narration freeze on his face. He goes, well, she's my grandmother.
Oh.
You didn't mention that. Acquainted with your family?
Yes, unfortunately she doesn't like this to be particularly well known, but I think you guys are to be trusted, of course, and Lady Rosalind would never say something to harm my family, I'm sure.
Does the diviner have a name?
She does, but we just call her Gam Gam. For one who deals in information and works where she does, it's best her name isn't particularly known.
Very well. Any sort of title? What shall we refer to her as?
just diviner or lady diviner is typically considered good faith.
Right. At any point, does Hal'qarim bring up what he said with Rosalind, even in a less overt manner?
Which
Just the how bourgeoisie the lady is.
he doesn't mention it. He kind of shoots a glance to Rosalind at one point, but that's about it.
Rosalind will actually let the rest of them know via Thorn that he says that she is uptight. Watch your manners. But I'm sure we'll be fine.
And Astra just goes, military style, got it.
Yeah, sure.
Astra like thinks, okay, I'm gonna have to act like that, and almost instinctively his heels kind of click together for a second.
Yeah. And as you do, you see Hal'qarim kind of give a glance. He goes, "Huh, didn't know you were tenured to the military at one point." As you kind of like straighten your back and click your heels, and kind of gives a half salute and continues walking. At one point, as you're nearing about what you assume is about the approximate elevation, he points to one shop that has like a huge necklace as its sign in the front, and he goes, "And over there is where you can find the best proposal rings." And he kind of gives a sideways glance to Rosalind and kind of clears his throat and continues the narration as he continues walking.
There's a pop as Astra's hand clenched and one of the fingers cracked.
You actually see Esther kind of, her hair flares up, but you see a coldness kind of into her face for just like half a second.
Rosalind looks uncomfortable, but doesn't.
Am I to Rosalind?
You're probably on pretty close to Rosalind as Hal'qarim's taking the kind of end of the.
I look towards Rosalind and give her a really kind
Rosalind
of look.
gives him a look back and very small shake of the head.
Right. Repo. Okay. No, he doesn't say that like.
Yeah.
He gets that impression, but he doesn't like say it out loud. But he's just like, all right. This
And the
guy's
sentence
kind
with
of okay.
Caius thinks to himself.
You get kind of like the head tilts back and the Then eventually you make your way to this building that seems to be made of either like lead or obsidian. You're not quite sure. It's this black, fluid-looking metal. And he kind of presses his palm against the door, and you see it kind of glow for a second. And he turns to each and says, "Anyone who wishes to enter, you just have to press your hand onto it, almost as a registry of who enters and who leaves."
Alright, Rosalind will step forward. Yep, and she'll press her hand to it.
Yep. You feel like a slight warmth and a little bit of magic across the edge of your fingertips, but past that, nothing major.
She looks back at the others and kind of nods.
And assuming everyone else...
He'll walk up and stick his hand in, maybe a bit firmly, just from general atmosphere right now.
When you do, you actually see the door glows just a little bit brighter as your hand touches it. But otherwise, unless anyone wishes to abstain, I assume you all press your hand to it. The doors swing open.
Yeah.
Caius, are you abstaining, or...?
I'm not abstaining. No, he doesn't abstain. He puts his hand in, like, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Get it over with.
That's it. Why he made it glow a bit more?
Sure. Roll a Arcana check.
Oh. I mean, it's not great, but unfortunately.
You know that divination magic is often associated with celestials, but unless it's something like that, you're not quite sure. It might just be
got it.
Or it could just be you make things glow a lot, because ASMR.
He just kind of like taps his fingers together, like putting the light from one to the other, kind of looking at it and zips it out.
Yep. You do hear Hal'qarim kind of under his breath goes, his glowing personality comes out.
Yeah. Does Caius hear this?
Yeah.
Caius gives a look towards Ashta and gives him a fuck kind of look.
This motherfucker.
What?
Ashton has a fairly, like, I don't know how to phrase this. Imagine like a high-pressure gas canister with a neutral face drawn on top of it.
I think here's the thing. I have that image in my head. I know exactly what you mean. Like it's got like the anime, like the bunch of lines behind the head. It's like the. Yep. But the door swung open, and inside, sort of reminiscent to actually the general that you guys met and where he commands from. All the walls are see-through from the inside. It seems like the structure has a much wider base floor, and it is normal person height this time, and a floor that's skinnier above it, with this kind of winding staircase in the middle. Where you're sitting right now seems to be just a kind of lobby, where there's this floating dragon type thing, just gently float. Yeah, it's alive. It's just floating through the hallway. It's got these kind of wings on its back and these like almost adamantine green scales all up down its body, and its eyes turn to you, and they're like just plain orange, and they lock eyes with each of you, and then it just kind of drifts over your head and just keeps circling the lobby.
Does it look similar in size or shape to Thorn, or is it...
No, it's about 8 feet long.
Okay, bigger. Much bigger.
Can Astra just make your check to see if he knows what this is?
Yep, roll me a religion check.
Okay.
It seems like you get like a celestial vibe from it, but that's about it.
Yeah, out of character, I'm pretty sure what that is in that case, but in character,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm certain you know what it is, Ariel. But, yeah, it seems to kind of just float on by. You see Hal'qarim go like, "Hey, Jerry," and kind of make his way to the staircase. And he kind of gestures up, says, "She's up there. She knows we're here from the door."
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah, knowing is kind of her business. And as Rosalind kind of goes to step up, he offers us a hand to help you up the stairs.
Thank you, but I believe I am fine.
Very well, he kind of gives like a half bow and lets you go ahead of him, and then follows immediately behind.
Astra follows immediately behind him.
Yep. You see, like you feel in the back of your head, just a very quiet voice say, disagreement of personality. You're not sure who says it.
Who
He
hears it?
looks over to the thing floating in the air.
It's not even looking at you, Ashta, but Ashta's the one who heard it.
Okay.
He'll just think to himself, is this two-way?
You get kind of a pleasant hum back.
He's am I about to meet you in person?
You just have met me in person.
He looks back to the floating thing.
Yep. At this point, it's looking at you and just kind of winks. You see it kind of like roll in the air and continue on its way, kind of speeding up a little bit. Still floating just lazily around the hallway, or the entrance. Once you guys get up there, Rosalind, you've seen these before, at least the style. There are these figures carved all over what seems to be an office. Every wall is bookshelves, but in front of the books, there's these quartz figurines that have seemingly been carved and shaped into these beautiful structures. There are some that's one that's like a scale model of this entire city with like little houses carved out of it. There's ones that is faces of people you have never seen before. There's a number of them that are the creature downstairs. And sitting in a kind of high-backed chair, back straight, kind of these little bifocal type glasses sitting on the edge of their noses, and high elf, it seems. Just writing down paperwork with a little crystal ball sitting in the front of her desk. And she doesn't even glance up. She goes, Hal'qarim, nice to see you again. You brought, friends. I see. And she kind of stands up very straight back, walks to the kind of collection of you as you get to the top of the stairs, and she bows like deeply, like easily past her waist level, and then stands back up straight, and kind of looks at you down her nose just a little bit. Each of you in turn.
Okay, is
And
the
give
bow a
a
standard
polite
greeting
bow
that
as well.
Rosalind would know in return?
It's in kind of a older type of greeting. Like, you don't see anyone young doing it, but it happens with people who are older, and that bow is like way deeper than like anyone with any kind of position of authority should be doing.
Okay. She'll return it as best she can.
Yep. As you do, you see a kind of just a pleased look on her face and says, Lady Rosalind. And she offers out a hand to shake yours.
Lady Diviner.
And a little tiny smile comes up and says, I see you've been instructed how to speak to me as well. Very
Only
good.
briefly, I'm afraid.
Brief is all I ask. Still a bit of manners. It's not much to ask, I don't think. And you see she kind of nods at Hal'qarim, kind of walks up to him. They're almost like 4 inches apart of their chest, and she just kind of strolls around him as he stands there, straight arms at the side. And you see her kind of like poke the back of his neck, and he straightens his neck out. Perhaps it like dig right into the ribs, and you see his he kind of like shifts a little bit, and she tuts from behind him and says, "Still ticklish as ever, I see." And she just walks down the line, looks at Caius.
Yeah, he's trying to stand up as straight as he can.
And you see she
Trying
kind of
to be
like,
as proper as he can, though.
and you actually see she like reaches her hand out, like she's gonna touch your face maybe. Do you react at all?
I try to like not like squirm and whatnot, but like yeah, I try not to. Hopefully.
Okay, give me just quick performance to see how well you keep your composure.
Yeah, give me a second. It's just I have to wait for the. I
Sorry.
have it open.
Yeah, is the roll 20 being a little bit annoying?
Yeah.
In that case, I'll say she goes to you last. In that case, for
Yeah.
Esther, as Esther has like this kind of almost goofy smile on her face after seeing how Kareem kind of get tickled. She's kind of standing there relatively casually, but still composed, like hands in front of her. She got like a big smile on her face, her back straight, and you see the grandmother kind of lick her thumb and just like wipe off a little dirt off of Esther's face, and then tries to rub harder and realizes the soot is just apparently part of her face. And just kind of makes her way down to Ashta. I assume Ashta is like military style, standing straight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She kind of like looks and says, "Good posture, but I can still see the slump from where you usually slouch, but satisfactory." And steps down the line to Caius, where you can make your
Yeah.
performance check now if you have it open.
Oh, good lord. Give me a second.
Do you
The
know
small
your
thing, Astra will
performance
give just like
modifier?
a light bow as she.
Hmm?
Sorry, Ashta, go ahead.
Yeah, Astra just as the diviner lady walks by, he will also give like the slight bow, I guess.
She doesn't seem to acknowledge it. I'm sorry. Ara, what'd you say there?
I was just asking John if he knows Caius's performance modifier. Maybe it's faster to
Not
just
really.
type it. Okay.
Yeah, no, just that. Yeah, it's that like my computer's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
That like I can't keep a tab. I can't like keep away from it. Like sometimes I try to like do other things while I'm doing this, so it's like it resets the tab when I go try to fucking take
where it
things
like
over.
refreshes, kind of.
Yeah, refreshes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it do that before.
Which isn't good for Roll20 because there's like it's like 5 minutes before you can get back in.
Yep. In that case,
Yeah, I can give a performance check now.
okay, go ahead.
Goodness. Multiple things don't want to work today.
Yep, that's how roll 20 be sometimes.
Yeah.
You know your
Plus
performance
4
modifier?
performance. Yeah.
+1?
+4, he
Plus
said.
4.
+4. Okay. If you want to type it or click it, go ahead.
Yeah.
Or if someone else wants to type it for
Yes.
him, I
Apparently.
think his whole thing's
Oh,
up there.
Fox,
already.
right.
Your kind of displeasure like slightly comes across your face, but you don't move much. And you see she just like basically presses the edge of her hand, and where the hair ends for the kind of half of the hair, she forces all the hair onto the same side, like all the way down the back of your head, and then kind of brushes some dust off your shoulders and kind of better, and turns around on her heel and goes back to her chair. And you see now there's a couple stools sitting in front of her desk, about 8 of them, which you guys can sit on if you'd like.
Oh, good. The roll 20 just crashed, so that's good.
Terrific. But yeah, so if you guys go sit on the stools,
Yep.
as you do, you see her kind of carefully watching how each of you sits, and at
yeah,
one point,
Kais is gonna try and not sit in it wrong because he usually
Okay.
does that to be an asshole.
yeah, to be
Yeah.
fair, you do so easily. It's sitting on a stool isn't hard.
Yeah. Just
But
sort
you
of politely keep legs together and just hands on legs, like he's fucking.
clearly uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's uncomfortable, but he knows how to be at least somewhat civil and polite and you know.
A good, almost like a good child.
Yeah. Just,
You see her kind of sit down, and she glances at each of you and says, "You folks seem more put together than most who come in. You know, I apologize for my strange thing. But, you must understand, it's important for the future of your spine and how people see you that you sit straight and more of a relaxed position. Lady Roslyn, I see you've already kind of learned this." You see this kind of like look of pain cross Hal'qarim's face.
I was duly instructed when I was a child.
With only your best well-being in mind. Very well. So I ask, what have you arrived here today for?
We were recommended to you by... He says he's a friend of yours, Orazur Magog.
A name I haven't heard in years, but I know him, yes. Good man. Cares deeply for the citizens here. He said he recommended you, so I take it this is military?
It has similar ends. We are
Very well.
we are seeking information.
All who come here do. Except for Hal'qarim, of course, who often comes here for my snacks, but that's a matter for another time. And you just hear a quiet grandmother from Hal'qarim, and she just looks at him sharply and says, "Lady Diviner, as I've told you many a time." And you see him just kind of nod and close his eyes. And she turns back to you, Rosalind, and says, "Well, I must ask then first, just by nature of my abilities, I have to make sure that those who come here are of good intention. Is that acceptable?"
I believe it
I
is.
hope so.
Alright. And you see her kind of close her eyes for just a moment, and her eyes become orange like the creature downstairs for a second. And silently the one from downstairs, floats up the stairs and basically settles across each of your laps. And as the smooth scales kind of rest against your thighs, you feel this strange probing in your mind. Your Fane, like, immediately all wake up and inform you that, oh, he's trying to, like, read your morals.
Mm-hmm.
I assume for now no one resists?
No.
Yeah. No.
As just like, I could, but it's not gonna do much.
So as you do, Ashton, once more, the creature kind of like turns its head to look at you, and you hear your mind saying, "Ah, you desire selfish things for selfless reasons. Interesting." And it kind of floats into the air once more and settles like this like gigantic python across the diviner's shoulders. The wings kind of like wrap up to kind of cover her throat and the front of her chest. And you see her open her eyes once more, and they're back to their kind of normal bright green color. And she kind of nods and says, "Oh, almost moral through and through. Although, Hal'qarim, the one you told me about so much, seems to have quite the mischievous streak, huh?" And you see Hal'qarim kind of, at this point, gives like a small sigh and says, "Well, I've been told as much by her father when I met her, yes." And kind of like, after that, it's like a quick moment of silence, and she goes, "Well," and kind of puts her fingertips together. "Very well. You may ask your questions. I will do my best to afford you the answers as best I can, but my magic is limited, as great as it may be."
Well then, to start with, how familiar are you with denizens of other planes?
Sorry, you cut out there. Say again.
How familiar is she with denizens of other planes? Rosalind is being vague right now, kind of because Hal'qarim's still in the room, but...
She kind of gives the teeter-tottering to her head and says, "Depends on which plane in particular.
Largely
see-
elemental.
Yes, I've been asked to look that way many times. You seem uncomfortable."
Well, I'm sure you know of the many attacks.
Of course.
And do you know of the source?
I know of one of the sources.
Asha might kind of give a light cough to kind of interject in the conversation.
She kind of turns to you and her eyebrows come together for a second, and you see her reach under her desk and place a small cup of tea in front of you and says, "You want to get rid of that cough as quickly as possible."
Right.
Did you have something to say?
It's just a suggestion that perhaps sensitive information be left to only those who directly need it. He kind of like gives a look over to Hal'qarim.
My apologies. She turns to Hal'qarim and says, I read from him that his intentions were to join you. I assumed that was a mutual understanding. But it seems little Hal'qarim over there seems to have been imposing himself once more." And she kind of gives him this drilling look, and he just kind of suddenly stands up, and the chair almost like, the stool almost like flies back under his foot, and he just gives like a short bow and walks down the stairs.
I should also just say, perhaps not imposing. It simply hadn't been discussed yet, and I suppose it now will be at a later time.
Yes, you'll have to forgive my grandson. He's ambitious. That's one word for it. He's on to whatever he can, very tightly, as was taught to him by my daughter, but oh well. I hope you forgive me for not reading the situation better to start with.
It's no trouble.
Then, if you can be a bit more frank with me, Lady Rosalind, you are speaking of the Zodiacs, are you not?
Yes, we are.
Alright, what is it you wish to know?
In some ways, as much as can be told. In others, if we must be specific, we were hoping, well, I was hoping, that perhaps one of them, Aquarius, who is said to be a peacekeeper among them, might be reasoned with, perhaps negotiated.
What I know of this young Aquarius, it's possible. Yes. Though you should know that young Aquarius is not quite as high ranked as other Zodiacs. Even if she was willing to, there's only so much that she can do. What you may be pleased to know, however, is the Zodiacs of the air, all of them are natural peacekeepers of a sort. It's possible to speak to any of them and potentially have talks of peace advance, but Aquarius is a good place to start. This, of course, from my past knowledge, I can't speak particularly recently, but this is what I know so far.
Do you think it would be possible to negotiate with some to assist in the dealings with the others? Or are they more of a very cohesive type?
That I cannot answer. I know the positions many of the Zodiacs take, however, I don't know particularly their relationships to one another. Also, the thing that even if you did ask me, I couldn't tell you, I don't know why they wish for war. And unless you know why they wish for war, it might be quite difficult to argue for peace.
Well, verbally, that is.
Of course.
One simple solution may be just to ask.
Potentially, yes. Unfortunately, many of us more powerful folks don't seem to have as much permission on those planes as we used to.
They are unable to travel?
Most of us, yes. It seems, whereas, or at least some powerful spellcaster of theirs has banished particular people from that plane. We're not quite certain how, but I can assure you a great number of us are working on how they did it. However, many of us are more focused on keeping the citizens safe.
Alright, I'm trying to remember what else we were gonna ask, because Esther was talked to about this. I don't remember everything.
Then, perhaps in both the case of potential negotiation and more traditional method, would you have any advice for Aquarius specifically in terms of getting to them, establishing contact one way or the other?
Contact should be easy. As for her personality or much else other than what she looks like and what her position is, I can't speak too well, but
What is the
she's she's an Air Genasi. Relatively young, from my understanding. Often seen riding a polar bear of some kind.
Might I relay you a message to see if, an image, rather, to see if it has any meaning to you in terms of Aquarius?
That depends how you wish to relay it. My mind is inaccessible to most, unfortunately.
Rosalind has Thorn climb down onto her hand and lifts him up.
And she kind of looks at the pseudo-dragon and says, interesting. However, unfortunately the magic I have to protect my own mind will not allow him any if I desire it.
Very well.
If you have magic or an artist of some kind, it's very possible to do it that way. But I can show you, through my own minor magics, at least a brief look. and you see her kind of pull up this chunk of quartz from underneath her desk once more, and kind of press her palm into it, and you see it just kind of turn molten for a moment, and then shape itself to this sculpture of a Genasi in decently heavy armor, holding this staff above her head, on the back of this polar bear with like icicles popping out of its shoulders and underneath its jaws instead of teeth. And it's like almost realistic. You can see each individual hair kind of bristling on the back of it, and she kind of puts it on the table in front of you.
What's the build, I guess, to say, of Aquarius?
Hard to tell. She is like underneath her armor. You can see like many layers of clothes. But judging from her hand, her neck, her face, young, relatively average in terms of physique. Like decently like pleasant looking on her face. The kind of expression on it is like a rallying, kind of excited bleeder.
You said that contact would be simple to establish. Is this something fueled by a spell or other means?
Oh, simply walking up to her. Her job is to be a manager, I suppose is the best word. She often meets with dignitaries from other planes, from other areas, messengers, and from my understanding, she speaks to most of them personally.
So as long as we get to the plane and to her home, we perhaps needn't worry too much about simply being attacked on sight?
Assumedly, as long as you present yourself well enough. From those who I've sent to do a little spying, she seems to be very trusting. Maybe just being honest or a simple lie that's not too far from the truth would be easiest. However, I advise caution always, as once you make yourself known to her, she is known, or she knows of you. And we're not certain as to how they banish people from these planes. I don't know what knowledge it would require to make happen.
Right. I should kind of like use a look over to Rosalind. And hey, negotiations are a option. Well then, I suppose, what would you know of the, I suppose, security or protection she keeps around and about herself?
She has her own personal soldiers, essentially. They're known as the Wind Surfers. They sort of harness the natural air element to fly between planes and long distances relatively quickly. They are trained in combat, but they are primarily messengers, peacekeepers, meant to report. Scouts, almost. None of them
Relative
are...
to, I suppose, the rest of the Zodiacs, a lesser force.
Depending on what they choose to oppose, yes. But they are enthusiastic and creative, good at hiding as well, adapted to most lands. I can actually have you speak to one. We have one imprisoned deeper into the city, if you so desire.
What's the nature of the imprisonment, if we may ask?
Simple, sleeping in one place. They are soldiers from the enemy front, so they were captured when found.
Makes sense.
He isn't harmed much past how he was in terms of fighting back initially, but I'm sure he's not particularly well fed.
What's his disposition on his current position?
Unhappy as is to be expected. He seems a bit brash, and is what led to him being captured. He is much more righteous than most of his folk, it seems. He claimed they were all pansies, I believe is the word he used.
Perhaps not the source we should take advice from for negotiating for peace.
Potentially, but still maybe useful questions.
Perhaps.
Although, as I said, quite brash and emotional, let's say.
Something to keep in mind. Do you know, you've mentioned not being aware of interpersonal relationships in the Zodiacs.
For the most part, yes.
Well, for one, which are you aware of? And for two, do you know much in terms of business, I suppose?
I have assumptions based on how they may connect due to the fact of what their position is. For example, Aquarius is Master of Scouts, Master of Messengers, and one of the Peacekeepers. Therefore, it's safe to assume that she's at least decently acquainted or familiar with one of the more higher up who might have elected her, as well as those she attempts to keep the peace with, those of the Plane of Water. And it's not a stretch to assume that she is some young disciple of another one of the Peacekeepers, potentially one of the other air elementals. But that may be totally false, as there is more on the plane of ice where she resides, and maybe she's simply related to them. I can only assume.
Well then, I guess on that, what could one expect from visiting the Plane of Ice?
Pretty much what the name implies. Depending on how far you go in terms of directionally relevant to the plane of water and the plane of air, it's relatively different. Sticking to more the center line between the two, the land is cold, windy, and almost entirely ice. No snow falls, just hard ice and hail. If you go towards the plane of air, you'll find the winds become more intense and the ice itself is just not there. You may have to fly the gaps between certain glaciers. And towards the plane of water seems to be almost a constant blizzard, with a deep ocean spent between the different glaciers.
And whereabouts, one side or the other, is Aquarius's base of operations, let's say?
From my understanding, she is almost directly between the two. Just for ease of transport, it seems. However, on the topic of relations, there is some recent knowledge I've managed to acquire from our friend down in the dungeon. It seems that I'm not sure if you're aware, but Ares of the Zodiacs seems to be very much the head of military operations. It seems he has a sort of understanding with Pisces, who may be his second in command. But her forces have had no combat, to our knowledge, so we're not sure what the nature of their association is. They may be lovers for all we know. Or they may be friends from college.
Relatives, perhaps, family members.
It's possible, but doubtful. Ares does reside on the plane of fire, and Pisces in the plane of water.
Okay. Sorry, I'm flipping through notes, trying to figure out if there's anything else. It's a mess.
I trust that you've been told the name of where Aquarius might reside.
Yes, we have, and Ariel cannot find it in the notes. The bone
Like-
something.
A great worm, something.
No, it's like a bone dragon thingy, and there's a
Yeah,
name
it's a
attached
giant
to
dragon.
it. What is it? What is it? Where is it?
The tooth of a big old dragon.
Frick. Network. It was info we got from the network, so it should be somewhere in, Where is it?
GM.
I'm assuming this is kind of just.
Oh, Rosalind knows I'm having trouble.
I'm assuming that it's basically just going back to brain, like, oh, what the fuck was it? And kind of like,
It's like, yes, I know it's in here somewhere. I'm sure it's in here. Where the hell did I put it? We went to the network. We got our teachers.
you could always ask the Fane.
Yeah, sure, ask the bloody Fane. I'm trying to find it in my book because I'm annoyed now.
Okay, I'll just let you find it then.
I should.
I'm just racking my
Tooth
brain.
of Ragnar.
There we go.
Skeleton of long dead white dragon. Massive. There we go.
I assume Rosalind kind of like finger play, like, do the Ragnar, like that.
More or less.
And she kind of nods and gives you a pretty genuine smile. And says, very well. I see your informants are pretty good after all. Might I ask where you garnered this information?
Well, since you deal in information, I wouldn't be surprised if you are aware of or have worked with them. We spoke to a representative of the network.
And you see like this like slight distaste on her face, like, understandable. Not much of a fan of mercenary style information myself, but I suppose you do what you must.
It was the source we had at the time.
I understand. Seems they give good information at least.
That is comforting to hear.
Yes, although I would have to wonder where they managed to find that info. But that's for another time.
Yes, that we did not ask them.
I doubt they would have told you, frankly.
Hmm.
As it stands, you do seem to be, working with good intentions here. Do you have a plan on how you are going to arrive to the tooth?
Not fully. We were hoping, I believe, to, if not stumble upon a portal, to find somebody capable of creating one for us.
Well, Asha will also kind
Unless
of
we
like go
have-
into the bag
Do we still have that?
and pull out the orb.
We do. I wondered if it had gone its separate way.
Before he pulls it out, he's like, I figured the nature of your. This might not be a preferable. Maybe offensive to the senses. Put it that way. As he pulls out the orb of transition.
Yep, she gives a kind of quizzical look and kind of asks to examine it if she could.
And he kind of like stops for a second and then hands it.
And you see her very clearly cast Identify on it, essentially. And kind of look it over and go, handy, but potentially imprecise.
It's an option more than anything.
It is. Lucky for you, I may have a better option. And she places down what seems to be this divining rod from in her pocket that's covered in these like frost crystals. And says, with your permission, I can have you sent to the Tooth of Ragnar in an instant.
I'm going to assume Ashton knows what that is.
Yes, you would know very clearly this is a component to the plane shift spell.
Yep.
And she kind of looks at you and says, however, you must understand, I can't simply send you. If that happens, I will be forced to try to transverse with you. And I will be ejected shortly after. I am willing to put up that risk, but realize you must be able to come back on your own.
Would you, in your opinion, and he kind of like turns the orb back over around his hand, would this be a suitable option, although imprecise?
To return, yes, as long as you end up somewhere within this country, I'm sure you can find your way back to where you need, or at least to a civilization of some kind.
And at that point, Asha might just kind of, like, not anything specific, but just kind of like flex the planer a little bit, assuming she could probably figure out. I feel we'll be able to handle.
As long as you understand that. There is one request I will make of you, however.
That being?
As unpleasant as you may potentially find it, I ask that you bring Hal'qarim with you, if I am to send you. He is ambitious and optimistic. I don't think he understands quite the effects and the danger in war. With you folk, I'm hoping that while this may be one of the most peaceful zodiacs, that he sees that it's not all fun and games and slaying dragons, you know?
Yes, he's not even accomplished that yet, honestly.
Yes, he claims he has, but it's hard to keep things from me.
I imagine if anyone, you would be the one to know.
Oh, that's just from grandmother's intuition. You can imagine from my abilities what I could divine from if I wanted to, but I don't think I want to know. I will allow him the privacy of his own mind, as long as he allows me to attempt to guide it in a way that will give him the longest life possible.
I suppose that's a way to do it. Although
Yes.
we could simply just tell you if you wished.
Oh, of course, but I think this will suffice, won't it?
I suppose specifics might be called into question.
Yes. You are free to search for another glimmer, but my offer remains.
More so, bringing him along is a broad requirement. Are we required to take care of his well-being overall? How much can we leave to himself?
I would request you bring him back alive, but I understand if danger occurs and he is within danger, things may happen. But I do hope you'd at least give me the kindness as to attempt to protect him.
Right.
Ideally, there wouldn't be any fighting at all. But yes, we do understand the risk. And
There's a lot of things that could have gone ideally that didn't, however.
Yes. You will be happy to know he is very experienced in negotiation. He may be of some benefit, at least.
well, that is at least something for this mission.
Yes, and if not, he can at very least heal everyone else's injuries, even if he stays back from fighting, against his will, potentially.
As long as he understands that this is a mission of negotiation and that we are not searching for a fight, but quite the opposite.
At least to start.
That can be made clear to him, I'm sure. Shall I call him up?
Ashton kind of like sets his teeth for a second. Can we bear, if it's okay with everyone else, have a day to think on it before giving any concrete answers?
Very well. Return whenever you're ready. Of course, the sooner the better, but approach it at your own time. I can allow you the luxury of a comfortable residence in the city, at least.
That would be very much appreciated.
She kind of nods and says, any other questions? As I said, I have a great amount of magic to at my fingertips, but I need specific questions if I'm to use it.
What do you know of an Oni?
In general, they're giants, are they not?
A very specific one.
Perhaps. One that has been, well, I suppose you would be rather familiar. One that has recently been attributed to opening an attack at was it Lenthiel? No.
Valeri.
Valeri, yes. At Valeri.
I've heard whispers, but I assumed the giants were not our greatest threat right now.
No, but he's been a persistent thorn in our side, specifically.
This particular Oni is employed by the Zodiacs, mercenary himself. We have had run-ins with him before. He has silver eyes, which he gained after drinking a potion given to him as payment by a hag. We don't know the exact effects of these.
Silver eyes, you say?
Yes, glowing. They appear whatever his illusory form may be. He favors that of a halfling. And he goes by the name Bo.
Well, the name doesn't particularly ring a bell, but are any of you skilled in woodwork or illusory magic?
Ash, I gives pause, like, I'm assuming you're asking for a visual depiction?
As a component, yes, I might be able to spot them just a bit.
Very
Rosalind
well.
gives him an encouraging look.
If you'll allow me a few minutes, as he reaches into his bag
Alright.
and pulls out inkwell, pen, notebook.
Alright. I assume you begin a sketch of the Oni?
Yes, more, I guess, more of a police lineup style.
Yeah. Alright. Give me a quick skill check with it, essentially. I don't know if you have it set up, but it'd be dexterity plus proficiency.
I could just roll stealth.
Okay.
Roll. He's not elemental, okay.
Okay. Over the course of about 10 minutes, you create a pretty solid lineup sketch of him. The kind of glow of the eyes combined with like little scars and injuries that he's procured over time. And she kind of takes it and presses one hand against the base of the paper and one hand on the crystal ball in front of her. She says, this crystal will allow you to see what I see during my spying. And she begins casting the scrying spell, essentially. And I am going to remind myself how that spell works.
I think Bo has to make some sort of save,
Mm-hmm.
and it changes depending on what component she has.
Alright, so this will be DC 21 Wisdom save.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna just about cry if it rolls high.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
You are.
Yeah, no, Ashton will actually cry. I'll just be sitting here going, no, come on! It's such a high DC!
As Connor goes to open the sheet that he didn't expect to need to have open the session.
God damn it!
Fuck!
No!
I'm gonna assume he passed.
That's a natural 18!
3.
23.
Okay. You see as, like, the crystal begins swirling smoke on the inside of it. And as you begin to get just the image of what seems to be him from behind, with his kind of cloak that he always keeps over his head, instead you just get this big smile and his face, like, right up against the glass. And all of you hear actually coming from it, that was, "Ah, hello there." And the crystal ball just shatters on the desk. I need everyone to make a quick dexterity saving throw.
Okay.
What?
Just the
Let's
same.
see.
Caius, I believe you'd have a +8 if you just want. Sorry, +7 if you just want to type it up.
For a dexterity save?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. 7, yeah?
Just real quick, because I might do something. Does a 14 pass?
If you're going to do something, it would have to be before you know if it passes.
It'd be if I want to know basically if someone takes damage.
Again, you'd have to just. It's safe to assume even if they pass the save, they might still take damage. So.
Well, just
You got a split second reaction.
25.
Okay.
I think Caius is fine.
Esther's character sheet is difficult to open as always.
Mm-hmm. Ty, are you there?
I think Ty's just listening in for right now.
Okay.
Alright.
Oh no.
Okay. So, Devin, are you doing it?
yes. Who is Ashta sitting close to right now?
You'd probably be between probably Caius and Rosalind.
Yeah, then he'd probably do, because Kai's fucking 25. He's fine. He gave that man a concussion. He doesn't need protecting.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll kind of just like back to the ball as he sees a crack in front of Rosalind.
Okay. Make your dexterity check.
All right. Yeah, it's just a check, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Okay. So you basically manage to essentially push Rosalind off the chair and present your back to the crystal ball as it explodes. You do both pass the save, so Ash is gonna just take full damage because 2 half damages. Yeah. So you take 10 damage. Kaius, you take 5 unless you have evasion, which I can't recall. You see Esser basically catch a lot of it in the right in the mouth.
Right.
But she spits it out pretty well and kind of gets past it.
Glass in the mouth.
Ew.
To be fair, it's glass, it's crystal. It's much less prone. Because it is essentially bludgeoning damage. So.
Okay.
But yeah, so it kind of just bursts, and you see beneath the desk the glow. She goes, her head kind of pokes up and goes, "Well, that was unexpected." I think it's suffice to say he's got certain protections in line.
Rosalind's getting up and asking Ashta if he's okay, because she just saw him take that. It's not a lot, but still.
He kind of like exhales for the first time in the last like 10 seconds. Just, I'm good. It's just some bruises. But I didn't know that beforehand.
Yep. You see her kind of on the stand where the crystal ball is. She pulls out another one from beneath her desk and places a new one and says, "Good thing I have about 17 spares." Well, 16 now. I mean, you have your answer. I can't cast the spell on him again today, unfortunately, since he was successful in warding me off.
I'd likely be expecting it tomorrow, if anything.
Yes, that's easy enough to do. If you have a piece of him or something that would be closely associated with him, it's possible to make this a bit easier, but otherwise it's a little bit down to luck.
I fully intend to take his head off the next time I see him, so...
Well, if you do bring it here, I'm not sure how good the spying will be after that, but we could do it.
In case I lose the other half of it.
Fair enough. Any other questions? You have something of his. I could try to find information on it, but past that,
Just kind of like checks himself. And... how acquainted are you with other glimmers?
many that are loyal to the Druidic government, I'm familiar with at the very least.
Do you know... We've heard some conflicting stories of... and hoping the player hoping he gets it right.
The dwarf?
Yes.
Yeah,
Is
Eric
his name
Dwarf.
Eric? Yep, okay, yeah.
Eric the dwarf, yeah.
She kind of looks and says, I've heard theories. It is known that he was essentially at least attempted to be drowned in his own forges. But some argue that since a flame could never hurt him, and he's taken out giants in the past, that it's possible he's just there, either through divine intervention or through some other power of his own. But, well, lava is heavy, and if he's underneath it, it's unlikely he'll be able to get out. And no one else can go in there and try to retrieve him. So if he is alive, well, he's alive. That's up to him to work out.
Well, alright. Another one. As he goes and he pulls out, a piece of the a broken wooden stick given to him by the other, by what's his name?
Wasn't he Joe the Paladin or something?
Yeah, was it Joe the
It was Joe, yeah.
Joe
goes-
the Paladin.
He goes, what do you know of one Joe the Paladin?
And you see this kind of like pained look on her face, and she kind of says, "Men fallen from glory many years ago. He he let his emotions cloud his judgment once, and he's never been able to recover from it. It seems."
Right. Well, we have encountered him once before. And he kind of looks over to Caius. And we were given what was supposed to be an item of aid. However, it seemed to be more in line of a information gathering piece. We only found that out just as a passing curiosity as to the specifics of the magic.
It's unsurprising. While he may be a paladin, he is prone to treachery and false loyalties.
You wouldn't happen to know his whereabouts in recent times, would you?
Unfortunately, that's a question I've been asked many times, and one I've never been able to answer. With his,
Be a hot topic.
for many years, yes. For quite a long time, much of the more powerful population of this country was willing to let him simply waste away in his former glory, drink until he passed. Others wished for his head in exchange for the actions that he made against the Druidic society. And some said he could not be blamed, as he was simply trying to protect what was once his own. I've been asked many times. Unfortunately, I've been outlawed from answering questions on him to any but an archdruid.
Alright.
As I said, it's the official decision to let him live. But still, it's best to discourage vigilantism. However, if
I
he's
just
doing
simply
as
wanted answers.
well, that's something I might be able to discuss with the archdruids now, as if he's actively committing crimes of spying and potentially other harmful acts, it's possible his case can be overlooked, and I'd be allowed to glance at him.
Asha
But-
will hand that wooden piece to him.
She'll take it and kind of jolt as it enters his hand and says, "It almost reeks of treachery." Kind of place it on the edge of the desk far away from her.
I would note that we have no idea why he would have given us a device to listen to us. At the time, well, we hadn't even heard whispers of the coming war. I can't imagine any reason to have decided to listen in on what was honestly just another small party of travelers going to the city.
Imagine if he was aware of your political standing, there might have been at least some reason.
Anthem is not that great.
Very possible he is, well, he was at least looking for information on you. As
Raises an eyebrow.
if my understanding is correct, you have connections to the former Great Archdruid, did you not?
We only created those connections after we met him.
Well, most of us.
Yes. as I'm sure your little friend in your pocket can confirm for me.
I know it was foolish to think that that the pocket would work.
Well, for most it would, but
yes,
thankfully
but
my little
you
pet
would.
over here. Yes, my little pet over here is good at divining who's nearby. You'll the minute she comes out, I've actually met her before.
Don't undo the pocket.
Yep, you see Rayla kind of flutter out and sit down on your shoulder, back straight, kind of legs crossed as best as she can. It seems like she might have a little bit of makeup on her face.
What?
Yeah, she's got like a little bit of like blush, and her skin is green and much smoother than it usually is.
Asher like checks his pocket for like makeup stains.
You can see like little, essentially like petals of leaves that have been almost juiced.
I always wanted you to say very compact.
No,
Very
unfortunately not.
compact.
No, it seems she's gotten dyes from the like leaves of plants, potentially from the grasses that you guys went through. And she kind of just nods towards the diviner and says, "Good to see you again, lady." And she nods back towards Rayla and says, "Good to see you again, little one. I see you've maintained your service even in our four master's demise." She kind of nods and looks away from everyone. And the diviner kind of turns back to you and says, "You'll be, well, hopefully happy to know that her soul has been in service to the Archdruid for centuries. It seems she took quite the affinity to him and decided to follow his word even after he passed."
Alright.
Yes. I'm sure you know that he used to command Fey spirits into whatever form was necessary.
Good.
She was one of his spirits. And if I do recall, Ashta, there may be others like you that he helped with other Raylas.
Investments, to put it bluntly.
Less investments, more... Well, put it this way. His greatest downfall was the fact he cared. As I'm sure you've been helped by him in the past. I don't know what your connection in particular is, but I recognize Rayla at least. Whenever he was to bed, and he still had magic, he seemed obliged to use it to help the citizens, and it seems he did. And he would send out his helpers to assist those who were in bad situations. It seems this one's taken a liking to you and decided to stick around.
Well, it's nothing I didn't assume, but information is very appreciated.
Yes, he was a great man. But I'm sure you don't want to hear the reminiscence of an old lady. If you have anything else you wish me to look upon, I'm happy to assist, but if not, I can have you led to your place of sleep tonight.
Ezra pauses, looks to the group, as the player really thinks to make sure there's nothing else we need to check up on.
Yeah, I can't remember anything, but I've slipped things in the past. We asked about Bo, we asked about Aquarius. Not really much use asking about the other zodiacs at the moment because we have a clear
Oh
first
no,
step.
we could ask about I can never remember because it was mixed up. Who did we meet?
That would be
Scorpio?
Cancer.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Scorpio.
We met
Okay,
Scorpio.
yep, Scorpio. I guess just more of a curiosity. Scorpio.
The poisoner, let's call them.
Is that right?
Yes, they are.
Was it suiting?
They're a thief and well, an assassin, essentially.
We found the rogue.
It seems that even within the zodiacs, they are not particularly liked.
John, you're doing something noise in your mic.
Yeah, sorry, it is.
She has been known to attempt assassinations before. Me and her are quite at odds, as I'm typically the one to forewarn those she plans to attack. But, recently she seems to have been quiet. I'm not sure as to of what. Either she's gotten wise to me and she's learned a way to prevent it, or figured there was not worth the risk attempting to assassinate someone who knows the kind.
How long ago was the last altercation you had with Scorpio?
Myself personally, I simply warned those who she plans to fight. But it seems the fall of Peduncle was the last. She was initially sent to go actually attack Orzor. And when she arrived, he was prepared with powerful magic, of which she managed to escape and return to her home plane.
Do you only notice her direct attacks or her attempts at killing in that case?
It is easiest for me to divine knowledge from workings on this plane. On other planes, my sight is limited. I do what I can with extrapolating from the information her eyes receive, but primarily she would appear whenever I was checking on those from this plane, and it was usually with intent to harm. I've attempted to do research on her, but she keeps her mind very well protected. As well as there are a few allies, it seems. We've never managed to meet or even speak to or see any of her followers.
Well, she may be changing her tactics somewhat, or perhaps not, but she was on this plane about a week ago, give or take a day or two.
Well, in that case, I will have to ask you what you know about it.
She appeared only briefly.
Like, gives a look, like, kind of like, okay, we're saying it.
Ashta. She employed Bo, at least directly, at least for this one encounter. I don't know if she is his normal point of contact or not. And she used a poison in this case that induces sleep and tiredness. It attacks the mind more than the body.
And by that nature, they're difficult to detect, I imagine.
Yes. She appeared just long enough to take a small artifact, a marble with a storm god trapped inside of it, or an essence of one perhaps, and left with a taunt, and that was it.
Yes, she seems to be quite the collector of magic items. I don't know to what ends. Actually, one of the things I've most often seen her on this plane, when not looking in the future, is she's been noted to attack those from the Shadowfell who are sent to steal magic items, and often will ambush the ambushers, take the magic items, and leave. I'm just gonna make sure really quick in my notes that this is Scorpio I'm talking about.
I mean, I'd be mad if the scorpion wasn't the poisoner, but
Yeah, okay, that is Scorpio. Just making sure I got the right notes.
Yep. In that case, would you be able to potentially help us find a very rare person, creature, and or ingredient to counteract her potion?
If I'm able to, I will, yes.
Orizer told us that to effect a cure, we need either a very powerful psionic, which is understandably rare. We understand that many of the people with those powers have had them stolen by another being. Or we need we need a part of a mind flayer.
Quite the distasteful race. Well, for the mystic, I can't give you much information on that, unfortunately. I suppose you know already that Genasi Desert would be your best bet, but finding anyone in that desert is rather difficult. As for the Mind Flayer, you may find luck in Citadel. The most well-known entrance to the Underdark is guarded by them. If anyone were to have it, it would likely be them, or potentially in Fluss, where there is a quite black market there for elusive goods. Some say that if you go to Esol, you can find your way to the Underdark through its sinkholes, but that seems a rather dangerous method in my opinion.
Probably unnecessarily dangerous.
Exactly so. I know at one point Valeria was doing, the university there was doing research on mind flayers, but it seems with the recent going on, they've lost most of their ingredients, or had used them up in their experiments.
Alright, is there anything else anybody can think of?
Not really. Not that Caius would want to have.
Astra kind of like just
Or
gives a
would
look.
think to ask.
Astra gives a look. Do you have anything you'd want to tell us?
Don't get killed. Keep your faces and names hidden as best you can from those of the other planes. I'm biased against the network, so I'd say be cautious of them, but they're not unreasonable allies. Just be aware of their mercenary nature.
We're very much taking precautions when dealing with them.
And, watch out for the rebellion. They're attacking concerningly in line with the Zodiac. I don't know if it's intentional or they saw the opportunity of taking it, but it is a danger to this country nonetheless.
Oh, that actually reminds me. I don't know if this is anything to do with the rebellion or some sort of counter to it, some other group. When we were helping guide refugees from Peduncle to Anther, we were at the rear of the train guarding, and we were attacked by a small group of people, half of which at least had druidic abilities, perhaps all of them, because they were in animal form when they ambushed us. I don't remember there being any particular insignias or other identifying marks. It just seemed odd.
These are not the first of such attacks. They are known to the rebellion, but they're not allies to them. In fact, the group who assaulted you is one that's been known to us since the beginning of the arcane era of this country. As I'm sure you're aware, druids are very attuned to nature. There are some who go so far as to declare civilization a sin against it, unnatural, a virus. It's not unusual for when tragedy to occur in this country that they at least attempt to further it, to destroy the cities, and indoctrinate those who have nowhere else to go. Bring them to a more natural way of life, where strong begets the strong, and those who can't survive are treated as nature naturally does.
Something to be aware of, I suppose.
Yes.
Indeed. Anytime there's an attack on a city, you'll often see them have some part in it. If they are able to find word of it, assist it, blend in for a while, sneak in as rats, cause chaos from the inside. Druids are naturally trusted by those people around, so they make for good agents. But they're a small group in general, and not well organized, as is the nature of living in the wild.
Very well. I can't think of anything else of particular need or interest at the moment.
In that case, I'll have Hal'qarim escort you to your place of sleep.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, what I can offer you is technically owned by our family, but there shouldn't be anyone else living there right now.
Thank you very much for your time.
Your hospitality is also very appreciated.
Yes. And do take care of yourself, young ones. You don't, well, most of you don't live nearly as long as you should. Just from experience. You eat well, don't let disease overcome you, and in your defense of this country, make sure you're around to defend us next time as well. Don't squander your lives.
We will do our best. Rosalind throws Ashta just a little glance.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ash just
Number one perpetrator.
slightly fidgets.
You see Rayla kind of just crawl back into the pocket with a little wave. And as she kind of stands up to escort you guys out, you see once more the serpent on her shoulders kind of drift into the air and just slowly make its way downstairs.
Just kind of as they're going, Ash might just ask, does that serpent have a name?
Jerry.
Oh, right, yes. I'll
Lovely.
Yes.
send that on the way in.
He seems to have taken some kind of strange affinity to that name when he came to this plane. I don't know why. It's a constant source of argument between us.
Well, sounds have different meanings between different languages. Who
No,
knows
the
where he
first
comes
person
from?
Well, I know where he comes from. The first person he met on this plane was named Jerry, so he assumed that that was what everyone from this plane should be called.
Huh.
As wise as he is unreasonable as all get out.
I'm sure there are worse things he might have picked up for a name.
Potentially, but it's just so inelegant, especially for one being as him.
Well, as long as he's happy.
I suppose. As I said, constant source of argument.
There is such a
Oh.
smile on Rosalind's face as she turns over this thing named
Yes,
Jerry
yep.
arguing over names, and yep, it's just delightful. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Kaya's kind of like, yeah.
I assume Kai's just kind of stifling a laugh.
Yeah, he's trying not to like laugh as he usually does. He's just like, yeah, this is pretty funny, but I'm not gonna like,
Yeah, you see her kind of give you a look, and just this fatigue look. She says, "You can laugh, it's pretty."
It is quite funny.
Yes, as much as I'm not one much for humor.
Ashton is not.
And she kind of just walks across the office to let you guys down into the stairwell. She hands actually to you, Rosalind. Sorry, Ashta, the figurine of Aquarius. And just as a reminder, and kind of puts it in your hand.
Yeah, turns it over. Thanks,
Yep.
sir. And gives a bow.
Yep, and you can see like in the kind of stand, piece of marble that it stands, of quartz that it sits on, in Celestial, the word Aquarius is carved into it.
Can't raise an eyebrow and just.
It is a noble language.
And he just responds with, I suppose, in Celestial.
He kind of smiles at that and responds with you as well and says, "If you ever wish the divining arts, it's a powerful way to keep those who care about safe,
I'll have to consider that offer.
Please do. Especially once you have time on your own. Do keep these who you protect safe from me. I hate to see adventurers such as you folk get injured and killed as often as you do.
Well, I do everything I can to make sure they don't. He just kind of walks off.
Yep. And as you step downstairs, see Hal'qarim sitting on another stool by the door. It seems Mitsi has arrived and is currently playing patty cake with him as you guys walk downstairs. And as soon as he notices you guys, he looks up and puts Mitzi's hands down and kind of stands up and clears his throat and says, "I hope that was quite useful. She's difficult, but she cares."
I quite
And
like
you
her.
see, and you see Mitzi go, "Yeah, she's great."
I wouldn't use difficult.
And Mitzi kind of looks up and says, "Yeah, he calls everyone difficult. Well, everyone that he doesn't like at least."
Oh, that's what difficult people do.
Yeah, right? You see Hal'qarim have this very offended look on his face. But you see Mitzi immediately run over to Esther and give her a hug, and Esther swings her around, puts her back down, kind of ruffles her hair, and Mitzi kind of walks up to you, and she this scowly look, looking at you from a foot in front of you, and just frowning at you, looking up.
Raises an eyebrow.
She just kind of kicks you in the shins and walks away.
What was that?
I don't know.
It was actually a pretty solid kick, honestly.
He'll do his best not to show it, but he's just like,
Yep.
"Eh."
You see how Kareem
Wait,
kind of
would
like,
not have like any sort of shin guards or anything?
he would, but she's not. Because you're wearing half plate, right? Or no, you're wearing breastplate. So yeah, you might have like leather shin guards, but nothing major. She basically like, it wasn't like a kick with the toe. It wasn't a soccer kick. She like heel to the side of your calf. Kind of
Okay.
thing.
Or like a Charlie horse.
Yeah, and then she just walks away with head up in the air, and then over to Rosalind and kind of curtsies in her pants, even though she's not wearing a skirt.
Oh, thank you for that greeting, but the last one wasn't very polite, do you think?
I don't know. Seemed appropriate.
Only occasionally. I don't think he deserved it this time, though.
Doesn't matter what deserve it, just how I say hi to him. And she kind of walks over to Xenia and offers a fist bump. I'm assuming Xenia just gives one back. And then Takaius kind of gives him a look up and down and says, "One of those wrestlers?"
Yeah.
Someone told me that wrestlers don't actually hurt each other when they fight. Is that true?
No. Not quite.
Yeah, don't worry, I heard him pretty good.
He does.
That's what I told them, but they said no. I knew it. Just kind of saunters back over to Hal'qarim, who just gives her like a light tap on the back of the head, like, don't kick people. And then,
Caius has like a bit of like a gappy smile now. It's like that. All right, that's cute. Okay.
and as she goes back to Hal'qarim before after gets like smack, she goes, "Oh, by the way, I learned a new spell too, guys." And
That's so.
yeah, and she raises her hand, and just the sound of thunder resounds downstairs, like blaringly loud. You guys almost have to like cover your ears. And you see Hal'qarim with his hair standing on end, and like a slight charred look to his right side. He goes, "Yes, she has."
Oh god, the kid's got an air horn.
Kids
And it seems she has learned a thunderclap spell. And you hear from up the stairs on the grandmother go, "What was that?" And there's a look of fear passing over the two of them's face. as the
I
serpent, like, makes
apologize.
her way over to them.
Mitzi wanted a spell demonstration. It was just a
Mitzi!
cantrip.
I told you no magic in the house.
Rosalind was trying to make it sound like she did it, but that didn't work. Diviner. I'm
You see
sorry.
Mitzi go, "Sorry, Grandma," and the serpent just kind of floats over to Mitzi, and just kind of takes her ponytail in its jaws and pulls up a little bit. And she goes, "Ow, ow, ow, okay, I won't do it again, I won't do it again. And he lets her go, and just continues floating on by, smacks Hal'qarim in the back of the head a little bit with his tail. And you see Hal'qarim go to say something, and then kind of look at the serpent for a second and says, "Apparently I'm to escort you to, a place to sleep, one of our old family houses. Is that correct?"
That's
Lady
what the
Diviner
Lady
did.
Diviner said as much.
Very well. You'll have to forgive me if it's dusty. He opens the door, kind of scoops her Mitzi up with one hand, sticks her on his shoulders as he gets outside, and says, "Well, if you'll follow me."
And we do.
And you end up going back up, closer to the top of the city. Not too far, but your cab's definitely going to work out.
Question. How's the horse?
Yeah, where's the horse? Oh god.
I assumed that the horse was being stabled.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Is there a
Not even
stable that
it's
can
a
hold
big
it?
fucking horse in a regular ass stable.
Well, actually, the stables are much smaller.
Oh no.
So, you actually interrupted what I was going to say next, but as you kind of make your way up to the little thing, it's a relatively large house, but nothing particularly fancy outside of the gem-encrusted door handle. It seems everything's like vaguely gem-encrusted here. there seems to be a very excited halfling standing on the back of a very large horse that is running very quickly towards you, Ashta.
Oh god.
Oh dear.
And the halfling's like, no, please just listen to me. I swear I'm not gonna hurt you. I gave you so many apples. Just as like it's like careening towards you, Ashta.
Oh, good lord.
That's just kind of like
Ashta?
he's just gonna like give it a look and just kind of hand motion to slow the hell down.
And it like stops on a dime. You see the halfling just go flying off its back like towards you.
Can Ashta catch the halfling?
As you go to do so, you actually see Hal'qarim just like football catcher in his chest and look at her like, is that your horse? And the halfling shakes her head and looks at you, Ashta. Is that your horse?
That would be one that's taken a liking to me, yes.
How much did it cost?
Why don't you ask it?
Because I was scared it would answer, and he turns to the horse and say, how much do you cost? And he sets the halfling down as well. And the horse just goes, 3 souls.
About tree fitty.
3 souls. 1 angel. And Hal'qarim just looks at the horse, looks at Ashta bizarrely and says, where do you spend that currency?
In reality, I came across it. It seemed to take a liking to me, and it's an interesting creature.
I'll instruct those at the stable if you wish to use it to leave it alone a little bit.
I was going to ask, how big are the stable?
My family has a personal one for the carts and transport horses. We can have a stable there if you'd like.
Alright.
And he kind of sets the halfling down and then takes Mitsi off his shoulder and says, can you bring the big horse to the stables? She kind of nods and tries to climb the horse, essentially. You see, actually, like, as she does... Oh, let's see what effect she has on the horse.
She's a devil.
And she's a... Let's see. Caius, roll me a
D20?
D12.
A D12.
Actually, you're having issues with roll 20.
Yes.
Devin, can you roll it?
I was gonna say, it's kind of not really my horse.
Yep.
So, 6.
Alright, you see actually, like, as she sits on it, it sprouts much smaller wings to when you jump on it, but it sprouts wings. And she looks at it and goes, oh my god! And the horse just takes off.
Oh no.
And you hear the, ah! Like, just happy yelling as she, like, flies away full Doppler effect. And Hal'qarim just looks stressed beyond belief. Your horse just flew away with my sister.
I'm sure he'll come back.
No, I think your sister just flew away with my horse.
I'm sure they'll both come back.
My sister can fly.
Well, then what just happened?
She is
Your horse
now officially airborne.
He just gives you the look, Kai's like, I don't like that term.
My horse doesn't fly.
It does now.
What did your sister do?
I don't know. What did your horse do?
It simply walked up here and she stood on it.
Well, she's not the one who walked away with him on its back.
Caius? No, not Caius. Ashta? Why is your Why is your horse airborne? Why is your horse in the air at this very moment?
Oh my.
Hal'qarim just places a key in your hand, Ralston, and it just starts, like, in the vague direction of where that horse is currently flying over the city.
I shall just tell Rosalind to, if Thorn can, just give a quick message to, hey, get back down here.
I'm sure something can be arranged, and she'll send Thorn flying up to within 100 feet of it.
Yep, and the horse kind of like pauses in midair with less sudden stopping than when the halfling was on its back, and just start flying towards Hal'qarim. And you see actually as the horse is flying towards you, Ashta, it shits on Hal'qarim's head. Just fly by. And I would like to remind you, it's on fire.
Oh no!
Airborne.
I have to burst the fuck out laughing.
Okay. And the horse basically lands in front of you and says, "Seemed appropriate, boss."
I did
That's
approve
so.
that.
Mitsi is giggling like a hyena on his back.
Is that what?
Hal'qarim is walking over, by the way, to you guys with a dent in his helmet and a flaming bird in his hand.
Whoa.
At least
he
you
just
were
looks at-
wearing your armor?
I hope you enjoy the home. Lady Rosalind, it's been great fortune to meet you again. Mitzi, how about I lead the horse this time? And Mitzi kind of, while still laughing, just kind of falls off the horse onto the ground and starts rolling around and giggling still. And you see Hal'qarim place a hand on the horse's neck, and the horse shrinks by 4 feet. And he just looks at it and says, "Of course." And drops the bird and starts guiding the horse towards somewhere.
Asha is laughing probably one of the most. This is one of the most times Asha has laughed in this group.
Definitely the most of the group scene.
I'm sure we just enjoy it for a while.
Yeah.
Rarity value.
Does Ashton have any kind of peculiarities with this laugh?
Can't say he does.
Didn't you say that the whole Ashta smiling is wholesome and stuff because Asimar?
Yeah, just wondering if Ashton had anything to put on it. Or sorry, Devin did.
I don't know what's an ASMR laugh. I have no idea.
It makes you feel like you're glowing
like
inside.
music. Yeah.
It makes everyone else smile just to hear it, basically.
It's like music.
Like, you know those, like, deep, hearty chuckles that you hear in a comedy show that lasts way longer than everyone else's, but just makes you smile when you hear it? One of those.
Sure.
You guys have the key to the house. It's sitting in front of you. As Ashta continues laughing, you see Esther kind of gesture toward and say, "Should we go inside?"
As just
Probably.
like calming down, just yes.
Rather than remain a spectacle on the street.
Yep.
And Rosalind
Or
will
at
lead
least
the way to the
adjacent
door.
to one.
And you do, and the key turns with a little bit of resistance, but not much. Push open the door. It's kind of this. It's two things. The house is dusty, and the house is gaudy to all hell. Almost everything has some kind of jewel in it.
Well played.
As you guys kind of get settled and get ready to eat, the forks have tiny jewels in it. The spoons have tiny jewels in it. All the silverware is actual silver. The bedposts have like gilded gold on the side of it. It's disgusting and clearly expensive.
Ashta.
What?
This place is really fancy. I don't know which fork to kill myself with.
Fuck. And with that, I think we'll end the session a little bit early today.
A lot a bit early.
A lot of it early, yeah.
Yeah.
But considering where I'm pretty sure things are going to go next week, unless you guys have anything particular you want to do with the rest of the evening.
Well, I was going to ask about training.
How many hours
Yeah,
do we have?
I was gonna leave training till next time so that everyone's here to mark off how much training they want to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, short session. I hope it's all right. But
That's fine.
we skipped our break, and I think it was fruitful.
Asher might actually pull Rosalind aside real quick.
Okay.
And just, about one thing earlier. You did mention the bit with Scorpion.
Yes.
My only concern is what we were warned before of how fiercely loyal to the Druids she is.
And what does that have to do with Scorpio?
I suppose just for one that's been an issue and hasn't been around much, for Scorpio to take time out of their day for something we've done. That might bring us some attention from the Druids, is all.
Mm.
You may have a point.
As well, now also aware of the kind of people Scorpio works with is one we've dealt with often and can shrug off the Diviners' viewing. Something to keep in mind for the future now, I suppose.
All right. And with that, we'll end the session.
Session done.
Alright.
One in the bag.
Yeah.
I will
I
end.
hope you forgive the lack of action for the most part, but
Side.
it wasn't informational, I hope.
Hope it was informational enough. We're sitting here going, what do we ask? What do we ask?
I mean, when you go to return the next day, you can always ask more questions.
That is part of the reason why I suggested it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because other people would be here for it.
Exactly. I was going to suggest it if you didn't, so.
Okay. Also, what fucking Hal'qarim? Oh, jeez.
Yep. We are being forced to
Mm.
babysit Hal'qarim as he comes along with us.
Yes.
Very good.
By the way, Rosalind.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, because I'm probably going to forget next time.
Mm.
You wake up with a little letter under your pillow.
Oh, good.
Uh-oh.
All right, noted.
Just remind me next time.
I'm
Yeah.
putting it in my note.
I should have put up alarm.
Yep.
Okay.
Teleporting letter for real this time. All right.